All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is what are we at? Week 15 right now. It's the semifinals for most of us, and it is time to go over some of these inactives, see who's going to be available for you guys this football Sunday. Try to get you set up for your best week, because let's face it, this is the most important week of the two. Yes, it's nice to win the championship, but if you make it at least to the championship round, you pretty much guarantee yourself some money. So I think this is one of those games and weeks that I know all of us want to win. All right. This week, I think we got a lot of how do you put it? Upsets or unexpected players that we hoped were going to be available, but that aren't available this week. And let's just run through quickly who we have as active and inactive this week. Now, again, I want to thank everyone for all the love and the support that they've been giving us recently, and I definitely very much appreciate all the help that we've been getting along the way with all the questions to really make this a time that we can help you guys out with your leagues. But some of the main guys that I'm looking at right now that are inactive, okay, I'm looking at Matt Stafford. Oh, hold on, let me put this in a different view. Let's go this way. Okay, so we got Matthew Stafford, Salvin Ahmed, James White, Jimmy Graham, as all are going to be active this week. Inactive, we have big names like Ezekiel Elliott, Antonio Gibson, who we had expected, Devontae Parker, who I think most people thought would play this week, Jakeem Grant, who probably wasn't going to play, Mike Gesicki looked like he might have had a shot to play, but then's not playing this week, and then Mark Ingram, who's a healthy scratch. So I think that's something that's really interesting to see the name like Zeke being inactive this week, especially knowing that, it's a hard matchup versus the 49ers, but he hasn't been performing that well. And now you kind of get the opportunity to run with a guy like Tony Pollard and be able to use him as your starting running back. So I definitely think that that's going to be a good option for you, and it's good to know this early. So I definitely think that's a great opportunity. But let's get to some of your questions here. So I have a question here for Sean. Okay, so you got CEH at Saints or Cooks at Indy. See, I think that's an interesting matchup. Are you in PPR in this league, or is it standard? Because in PPR, I think that you have a better shot at Cooks, but overall, I think I'd be leaning more towards CEH, just for the mere fact that he is gonna get enough of the workload, and in this type of game we can see him getting past 0.5 PPR. Definitely, if it's 0.5 PPR, I definitely would leaning way more towards CEH and making him the main guy, just because I do expect him to get more volume than Cooks. Cooks is coming off the injury last week, and the Indianapolis defense isn't the worst. They're actually pretty solid, so it's kind of hard to expect him to have a huge game, where CEH versus New Orleans should be involved in the game enough to justify his start, or especially in the PPR league. At least that's my thoughts there. But definitely, I think it's another name to be looking at this week in Miami, with all the guys out. So you have Devontae Parker out this week. You have Jakeem Grant out this week, and you have what's his face, Mike Gesicki out this week. I think this all sets up for Lynn Bowden Jr. to really be an interesting name for most guys, or for a lot of people. Lynn Bowden Jr. is owned in not that many leagues, but he's someone that has running back and wide receiver eligibility. He's been running a decent amount of routes out there, and in a game where you're going to have none of your top guys, just off of that alone, I think it gives him an opportunity to have a decent day just from volume and ability. So he's someone that I'm rolling with in a couple of leagues. Sean, no problem at all, man. Yeah, Anderson definitely pulled a dud yesterday. I was kind of lucky though, because I was facing him in my one of my big money leagues. But I was also facing Josh Allen, so it kind of balances it out. So hopefully you have a couple of guys that really blow up to pick up your Anderson play. And I'm personally starting Cooks in the league. I'm starting Cooks and QT in the league. Obviously, I don't have a CEH. I have James Conner, who I'm not sure about if he's going to play. Another interesting inactive that I think that we saw, and I think that needs more discussion, is going to be Mark Andrews. I mean, Mark Ingram from the Ravens. Mark Ingram was started the season as the lead running back for the Baltimore Ravens, and now at this point in time, he's actually regressed to the point where he's a healthy scratch. So I think when you look at that from the perspective of what are you doing today for fantasy football when they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars? Well, I'm saying this: if you have J.K. Dobbins, he's an automatic start. He's somebody that you definitely want on your lineup in and active. Just because I think he's the 3 down back. He's going to get the majority of the workload. He can catch the pass. He can run it. He does pretty much everything that you would like to see out of a running back. Okay. And then Gus Edwards will definitely get a lot of mop up time, and he'll get the ability to come in and maybe score like a touchdown or score, some cheap yards on some plays because, he's getting the breather for, J.K. Dobbins. But I definitely think J.K. Dobbins has moved up into, elite starts territory where J.K. Dobbins is probably like a top 15 running back this week. And you're looking at if you need a backup or if you need your desperation flex, you're looking at a guy like Gus Edwards this week, and you're not upset with starting a Gus Edwards type this week because you know that he's going to be the guaranteed backup to J.K. Dobbins. Anything happens to J.K. Dobbins, he's going to get the majority of it. He can get definitely a goal line rushing touchdown. He got 2 rushing touchdowns in his last game. So I definitely think that when you look at that situation, the Ravens, they definitely set you up for success by ruling Mark Ingram out. Lets you know that J.K. Dobbins is the true number one. He is the guy that you want to roll with, and that if you're going with Gus Edwards as a RB2 or a flex in a desperation play, it's a little bit better than it was a couple of days ago when you're looking at a possible share with Mark Ingram. Now, this week, I did, if you're looking at FanDuel, okay, they have a lot of good values this week with FanDuel. And again, guys, if you have any questions about your matchups or who are you thinking about starting and sitting, feel free to drop the comment in the chat. I'm responding to all questions, no charges today. We're just out here helping you guys win your leagues. Personally, I'm in 2 championship matchups. I got Kyler Murray going in one, and Patrick Mahomes in the other. So quarterbacks, I'm looking good. Wide receivers, I'm going crazy because in one league I'm dealing with a lot of injuries, so I'm running with Brandon Cooks, and I picked up Lynn Bowden Jr. I'm starting him in 2 leagues because you know what, the pickings are slamming. I've been making this work just through the waiver wire pretty much. I'm starting Salvin Ahmed, who's going to be the starter this week, and with seeing that guys like Myles Gaskins are out again with COVID-19, and with all the pass catchers being hurt right now for the Dolphins, I'm rolling Salvin Ahmed with some sort of sense of security. Like, okay, he's going to get a decent amount of a workload that I feel like he'll at least get, maybe like 10 points, and maybe he can get like 15 to 20, depending on how much he gets used and how well he feels. But I think that Salvin Ahmed this week and Lynn Bowden Jr. are 2 guys that I'm rolling with just because all the guys are out. In FanDuel, I have a couple of really good picks that I've been liking. I got Cam Akers versus the Jets, so I think this is a layup matchup for Cam Akers. He's only costing 6,700 right now, and if we look at what Cam Akers been doing over the last couple of games, Cam Akers has really started to come into his own over these last 3 games. He scored a touchdown in 2 of the games. In this game, he's rushed for 171 yards versus the New England Patriots. So if we look at that, one, it also gives me hope that Salvin Ahmed could have a decent day versus the Pats. And 2, it makes me think that, this Cam Akers breakout is fully going. It's the running back that we thought that we were getting at the beginning of the drafts or in the middle of the drafts in most cases. The guy that we thought that they drafted to be a top guy, I think we're finally getting it. Now, Kenyon Drake, I'm really liking this week. And one of the big reasons why, if we look at Kenyon Drake again, he's been a stable guy, 14, 22, 12, 15 over his last 4 games, facing some decently rough running back matchups. And again, we see the New England Patriots, they got ran all over. So again, Salvin Ahmed and Daly, I'm thinking more and more about trying to get him in there. But for season long, definitely someone that I'm not shying away from. We're seeing he's been a solid guy. And one thing that we can look at with Kenyon Drake is the fact that um what's his face? Chase Edmonds is out this week. So in this instance, we're not getting the normal workload that he'd be getting, which is the bell cow situation. But in this instance, we're seeing even more of a chance that Kenyon Drake could be the real focal point. And when we're looking at this situation where Kyler Murray is facing a secondary from Philadelphia that's not going to have Darius Slay, I think this is a good matchup. I want to start my Cardinals if I have them. I like me Drake this week. I like me Murray this week. I know a lot of people have been shying away from Murray because he's been struggling a little bit, but I definitely think that this is a matchup where he could do some damage in the semifinals. Because let's face it, Murray got a lot of us here, so we're not going to start benching him. I was debating him or Herbert, and I went with Murray just because, again, I didn't think that this is a matchup that you have to shy away from. Next week is a different story, depending on how the 49ers play, but definitely like Murray this week, definitely like Akers. And then speaking of the 49ers, when you look at Ayuk has pretty much taken over as the number one wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. He's been catching passes. Let me bring up his numbers for 1 point PPR so I can give you the breakdown here. But okay, so we got right here. Sorry for the delay. Okay, so Juke, his numbers have been as follows. Last week, week 14 versus Washington, he had 16 targets, 10 catches for 119 yards. The week before that versus Buffalo, he had 9 targets, 5 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown. The week before that, he was out. Then they had the bye week. The week before that versus the New Orleans Saints, he had 7 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Okay, so this guy has been automatic, Ben Aiyuk. And now that we have Deebo Samuel's out and he's facing that leaky Dallas secondary, I think Aiyuk is set up in a primetime situation to definitely blow up and put some damage in. So if you have him in daily, you're only looking at 6,900 for him. So it's a very reasonable price. If you have him in season long, there's no question that you're playing him. Corey Davis is another guy who's been in season long. He's probably been a guy that if you picked him up and you were able to play him, you've been able to reap a lot of benefits because Corey Davis has been really consistent. If we look at what he's done over his last couple of games, last week he kind of put up a dud versus Jacksonville. I'm not going to lie to you. But before that, he was 29, 8, 13, 9. He had the big game, 22, 12. He is a little bit of a downgrade, in my opinion, from Aiyuk, but he also offers big play upside. And when you have AJ Brown and Derrick Henry in the game, they're going to draw a lot of focus, which is going to give him the opportunity to get open and actually get some decent points and get his game off. So I definitely think that Corey Davis and Daly, especially at 6,800, isn't a terrible play. And I think he's someone that you definitely might want to rock with. Lynn Bowden Jr., I've been gushing about this guy all throughout the stream. He's someone that I'm rolling with. I think that in desperation plays where he's, when we look at the ownership of Lynn Bowden Jr., okay, his ownership ranking right now is what is it? He's up 26%. So he's 27% owned total. Coming into this week, he was 1% owned. Last week versus the Kansas City Chiefs, he had 9 targets for 7 catches and 82 yards. Okay, what that shows here is that this guy has the opportunity to definitely get some catches and do something with his catches. In this matchup this week versus the New England Patriots, there is no Devontae Parker, there's no Jakeem Grant, and there is no Mike Gesicki, which opens up the opportunity for Bowden to really get a nice target share. Him and Salvin Ahmed are going to be 2 guys that are going to be very interesting this week. Okay, Mark Andrews. I think this is a great matchup for the Baltimore Ravens. The question is going to be who's going to be the guy that really gets the bulk of these these targets and these yards and these touchdowns. We know that a guy like Marquise Brown, okay, was on the COVID list initially to start the week. Then he just recently got removed from the COVID list, and now he's going to be active for this game versus Jacksonville. Okay, we already saw that Mark Ingram is already inactive, and that we have J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards manning the backfield. Okay, so wide receiver wise, it's about the same as usual. So the question is, can Mark Andrews do work this week? And I'm hoping that he can. If you look at his last couple of games, he's been trending back up. Because if we look at Mark Andrews to start the season, he it was rough. Like he started off good, couple of duds, couple of good games, then he went on a dud streak. But now, if you look over his last 3 games, he has 9 targets, 7 targets, and 6 targets. He has 7 receptions, 5 receptions, 5 receptions. He's gotten over at least 60 yards in his last 3 games. He caught a touchdown versus Tennessee. I think there's an opportunity here for Mike Andrews to actually get a score, to put up some numbers, and be pretty decent. So I'm definitely liking Mark Andrews. Now, Alvin Kamara is a guy that, if we um look at his trajectory of his season, he started off great. He was amazing to start this season, right? Especially when you had Drew Brees in and you had Michael Thomas out, and he was the highlight of the offense. He was doing great. But then he kind of hurt himself midway through the season. I think this is right around when we saw he started to get hurt, right? And then his usage started to go down. You had Latavius Murray was in a lot. You had Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill was running the ball a lot and taking away from that Alvin Kamara attack. Over the last couple of games, we started to see them go back more to Alvin Kamara. But with Drew Brees being under center this week for the New Orleans Saints, and with Michael Thomas being out this week for the Saints, I think Alvin Kamara has set himself up to be a really viable option in daily. I think for season long, this is exactly what you've been waiting for, because you're getting back the guy that you had drafted in the top part of the draft originally, and that you had carried you to a certain point at this juncture of the season, who really let you down over these last couple of weeks. So I think Alvin Kamara has set himself up to really bounce back and have a great week 15 for a lot of his owners. So I think that's something that we definitely have to look at and keep our eye on going forward. Now, one thing that I do want to highlight here for this week's lineups. So let's just go through here. Just want to go through a couple of the other options that are available for you this week. And if anyone has any other questions, feel free to drop it in before we wrap up and get going here. But just looking at some of the breakdowns here, obviously I think Cook, Henry, to me, I think Dalvin Cook has a tough matchup this week versus Chicago. I don't think I'd go for him in season and daily. In season long, I'd be a little bit worried to see what he could do. But I mean, Dalvin Cook is Dalvin Cook, so you're not going to bench him because he does have the opportunity to really blow up. But I definitely think that you have to be a little bit worried with this matchup with Dalvin Cook. I think Derrick Henry definitely could beast and have a great game this week. I think Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill are going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be the New Orleans Saints defense has not been playing really terribly. So I want to see how this Kansas City offense travels to New Orleans and how they play, because it's an opportunity where, we expect big things from these guys. And hopefully, I'm hoping that we get a repeat of what happened in the Bucs game, but they don't get the foot off the pedal, and Mahomes and Hill just go off and they do their work. But it'll be just interesting to see. I think DeAndre Hopkins this week, with knowing that there is no Darius Slay, is really appealing, because he could ball out this week. Him and Kyler Murray could just tag team and just really dominate this Philadelphia defense. I think that it also sets up an opportunity where you're going to have, what's his face, Jalen Hurts playing from behind, and he could be throwing the ball a lot. And I think that could give an opportunity for Rieger to have an outside shot at being decent and being someone that could return his investment. Or if you have a desperation play in season long, he may be a guy that you could look at. That's a solid play that might be able to help you out. Also here, Calvin Ridley. This week there is no Julio Jones, so Calvin Ridley definitely opens himself up to have a great week. He should get a decent amount of the volume here, and I think that's definitely something you should look forward to with Calvin Ridley. And again, guys, just to let you know, if you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We're doing this here for you guys this week, so again, any questions that you have, you let me know. I'm just running through quick just some of the matchups that I see going on and some of the things that we're looking at going forward for the week. At some matchups, some good daily prices, and what I think about them for the week. But again, this is the money week. You win this week, you make it to to the finals, you guarantee at least second place money. You usually hey, if you get more than you put in for a league, that's a win to me. But I like to come home with the gold trophies. So I got 2 leagues I'm running with. I'm excited. I'm hyped. I got DK Metcalf running in them. I'm feeling good about this DK Metcalf matchup. He feels matchup proof, if you ask me. And I'm just really excited. But guys, I think this has been fun. I appreciate everything. Again, I wish you guys the best of luck with your matchups this week. And I think that this is going to be a good week for us guys. I have the feeling that things are going to go well. Call me a sucker for hope, but I got hope, and that's what you need in order to win. But if you guys have any other questions, you can drop them in through. Like I said, I have you guys covered till 12:45. So any questions you ask in the comments below, I will answer until 12:45. That's when I shut it down and I get to game mode, set up the red zone, get ready to fire it up. But again, I appreciate everyone. This has been a great season. We're into the final weeks here of the fantasy football season. So we've done this now for like 16 weeks. So it's been a journey. It's something that I like doing and I look forward to doing. And we'll figure a way to get this going on for basketball and for baseball and for everything else like that. But I wish everyone the best of luck. Have a wonderful week and peace.